Control A.5.8 addresses a challenge that many organizations discover too late. Information security requirements that are identified after a project is already underway are far more expensive and disruptive to address than those built in from the start. A.5.8 requires organizations to ensure that information security is integrated into project management from the initiation stage, not bolted on at the end when the budget is spent and the architecture is fixed. In this video, we explore what security by design in project management looks like and what project managers need to do to comply. Let us examine what A.5.8 requires and why integrating security at project initiation produces fundamentally better outcomes than addressing it during implementation or after go-live. A.5.8 requires organizations to identify information security requirements at project initiation and address them throughout the project lifecycle through structured security reviews at each stage. Identifying security requirements at project initiation requires a structured approach that most project management methodologies do not include by default. Security must appear as a formal work stream in the project charter, with specific questions asked and answered before the project moves beyond initiation. What information will this project create, process, or transmit? What classification does that information carry? What regulatory requirements apply to its handling? What security controls are required to protect it? What risks does the project introduce to existing systems and data? These questions frame the security work that must be completed as the project progresses. A.5.8 makes project managers explicitly accountable for information security within their projects. This is a significant requirement because project managers typically have primary accountability for schedule, budget, and scope, and security activities compete with all three. Making security accountability explicit in the project manager's role means that security cannot be deprioritized without the project manager being held responsible for that decision. It also means that security expertise must be available to the project, either from an embedded security representative or through defined consultation with the information security function. Security reviews at project gates are the mechanism that prevents security from being addressed only at the start and then forgotten as project pressures accumulate. A gate review process requires that defined security criteria are met before the project can proceed to the next phase. During design, the security architecture must be reviewed and approved. Before testing, the security test plan must be in place. Before go-live, the security assessment must be completed and residual risks must be accepted by an appropriate authority. Gate reviews create scheduled checkpoints that maintain security engagement throughout the project lifecycle. Security by design is the principle that security characteristics should be inherent in the system architecture rather than added as controls after the fact. When applied to project management, it means that data minimization, access control, encryption, logging, and resilience are considered during the design phase when they can be architected correctly, rather than during testing when they must be retrofitted. Security by design produces systems that are more secure, more maintainable, and more cost-effective to operate than those where security is treated as an afterthought. Mergers, acquisitions, and major procurement projects introduce information security risks that are qualitatively different from internal development projects. When an organization acquires another business, it inherits the target's information assets, security architecture, and unresolved vulnerabilities. When it procures a major system, it becomes dependent on a vendor's security practices. A.5.8 requires that these projects incorporate security due diligence, assessing the security posture of acquired organizations, reviewing the security architecture of procured systems, and establishing clear security responsibilities and transition plans before integration is complete. For key concepts that define what security-aware project management looks like under A.5.8. Security by design is most powerfully applied during the architecture phase of a project when the fundamental decisions about data flows, access models, authentication mechanisms, and integration patterns are being made. Changes to these architectural decisions after the system is built are typically expensive, time-consuming, and organizationally disruptive. Security architects who engage early, ask the right questions, and influence fundamental design decisions produce systems that are structurally secure rather than superficially hardened. Security gate reviews transform security from a one-time activity at project initiation into a continuous governance discipline. The criteria for each gate should be documented in the project's security plan and agreed with the information security function before the project starts. Common gate criteria include: the security architecture has been reviewed and approved, security requirements have been included in the test plan, the penetration test has been completed with findings remediated or accepted, and the residual risk has been formally accepted by the appropriate business owner. A security impact assessment at project initiation is a focused but structured analysis that answers the questions a project team needs to address before making security decisions. It identifies what information assets the project will create or affect, assesses the sensitivity and regulatory classification of that information, evaluates the threats and risks the project introduces, maps the security controls required to address those risks, and identifies any regulatory approvals or security reviews that must be completed before the project goes live. This assessment becomes the foundation of the project's security work plan. The Secure Development Lifecycle, SDL, is the framework that operationalizes security by design for software and system development projects. Microsoft's SDL and similar frameworks specify security activities for every phase: security requirements definition, threat modeling during design, code review and secure coding standards during development, security testing during QA, and penetration testing before release. Organizations with significant application development programs should adopt a formal SDL that is consistently applied across all development projects. Let us look at how A.5.8 applies in practice across three common project scenarios: cloud migration, new application development, and merger and acquisition. A.5.8 applies to any project that introduces changes to information assets, systems, or processes, including cloud migrations, application development, and mergers and acquisitions. Cloud migration projects are among the highest-risk security transitions an organization undertakes. Moving data and workloads to the cloud changes the security architecture, the access model, the data residency, and the applicable compliance requirements in ways that have significant security implications. Security requirements for a cloud migration project must address what data can move to the cloud and what must remain on-premises based on classification, how access to cloud environments will be controlled and monitored, how the shared responsibility model allocates security obligations between the organization and the cloud provider, and what monitoring and logging capabilities will be available in the cloud environment. Application development projects must embed security from the requirements phase rather than discovering security deficiencies during penetration testing before go-live. Security requirements, authentication standards, authorization models, data encryption requirements, input validation rules, session management requirements must be documented alongside functional requirements and tested throughout the development process. Threat modeling during the design phase identifies where the application is most likely to be attacked and allows developers to address those risks architecturally before they become vulnerabilities in production code. Mergers and acquisitions represent a unique security risk because they bring an entirely unknown security environment into the organization. Security due diligence during the M&A process should assess the target's vulnerability patching status, data classification and handling practices, access control architecture, existing security incidents and breaches, regulatory compliance status, and supplier security arrangements. This assessment informs both the transaction valuation, security debt is a real cost, and the integration plan, which must address how the target's security posture will be brought to the acquiring organization's standard. Infrastructure refresh projects, replacing servers, networking equipment, or end-user devices, are often treated as straightforward technical projects without security review. But these projects introduce significant security decisions. What configurations will be applied to new equipment? What legacy security vulnerabilities are being eliminated or preserved? What new attack surfaces are introduced? And what the security baseline standard for the new infrastructure will be. A security architecture review before procurement ensures that security requirements are included in specifications and that the refresh delivers an improved rather than equivalent security posture. Let us bring together the essential points from our exploration of Control A.5.8. To master all 93 Annex A controls and build a certification-ready ISMS, enroll in our complete ISO 27001-2022 Security Controls course on Udemy. We cover every control with practical implementation guidance and real-world examples. Enroll today. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. See you in the next video.